Hey there, it's Kristen with Shifting Roots, and today we're going to take a look at my seed starting setup, and I'm going to just take you through my little routine, how I care for all of my seedlings, and let's dive in. This watering can is nothing particularly special, but I just found it home sense. I thought it was cute. It says grow. Why not? I also have another smaller one that says bloom. I don't know. It was also cute and fun. So that's why I bought it. I check on my plants once a day, but I don't always water them every single day. It just depends if we need it. Now, these ranunculus, the lights need to be moved up, so let's take care of that too while we're at it. That's much better. You'll notice that I keep the grow lights pretty close to the plants, and that's because these are really cheap shop lights. They're nothing special. They're just the cool light shop lights. If you can get some in cool and some in warm, that's obviously better, but do whatever you can. If you have more expensive grow lights that have more powerful lumens to them, you're going to keep them farther away from your plants. But I've been using this system for a couple of years and it's worked pretty well. These seedlings here are ones that I just bumped up not that long ago. All of them have at least 4 true leaves, so I'm going to start fertilizing them today. Over here we have a tray of snapdragons that I probably could have started fertilizing a long time ago. And same with the stock. It looks like everybody here is ready to go for fertilizer. This year, I'm testing out Merrifill. This is a fertilizer that's new to me, but West Coast Seeds sells it. And as a brand ambassador, they'd like all of us to try it. So this is my first test of it. And later on, I'll do a video and just show you the results and tell you what I think. But here, closer up so you can see it. And I'll link to it in the description, of course. When I'm watering, I'm always trying to water from the bottom in my trays and not on top. I just demonstrated watering on top for a little bit just so you could see why I don't do it. Honestly, it's kind of a mess. With the bottom watering, your roots are going to be so much happier. Whenever you're applying fertilizer, make sure that you're following your fertilizer's instructions. More is not more, especially if you're using a chemical-based fertilizer. Chemical-based fertilizers, you're looking for ones that have the numbers 10, 52, 10. If you use too much of it and don't follow the instructions, you're actually going to end up burning your seedlings and killing them, completely defeating the purpose. Over here we have the dahlias, and actually I could probably take cuttings from a bunch of these as well. If you haven't watched the video, I lost a lot of my dahlia stock, and basically this is what I have left. I've divided it all up and it's just under grow lights trying to give me cuttings. Brown sugar and groovy were basically my 2 bags of tubers that were the least affected. Thankfully, these are a couple of really nice cuttings I can take. So that'll be 4 more tubers. And then groovy is like a huge tuber producer. I know that these look kind of thin, but it seems like groovy does this. That's just how it shoots out, because it did the same thing last year, same thing this year. One nice thing about losing all my Dahlia tubers was I got really aggressive with how I cut them, and it made me a little bit fearless. And now some of these I did wrong. I don't think I have enough head, or maybe there's no eye, or whatever, but it forced me to learn to divide Dahlia tubers without worrying about how expensive they are. Because for once in my mind, as I was dividing, I wasn't necessarily thinking about the money, because my tubers were essentially lost already. So it behooved me to divide them as much as I could and take as many cuttings as possible. So hopefully I get my stock back up. Taking cuttings is actually quite easy. All you have to do is just cut as close to there as you can, and then putting them in rooting hormone and then soil, or else do the water method. Either way will work. Do you want to start some seeds? Yeah. Oh, big smile. Yeah, let's start some seeds. Good morning, chickies. You want to start some seeds too? I'm going to take that as a yes, Chief. All right, now we're ready to seed start. So today we are starting a bunch of asters. Last night I already started the straw flowers and the status. A lot of these will be crops that I really lean on into the fall, but I thought I'd just show you a few of my asters since a lot of them have pretty pictures. So for first is some Lady Coral Lavender. Then this gorgeous, this is a king size red. There's never enough red in the fall. This is king size Apple Blossom. Isn't that gorgeous? This one doesn't have a pretty picture, but it's the roses mix from West Coast Seeds, and it is gorgeous. Love, 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 love this mix. You need to get some. Ooh, Vanilla Bliss Aster. Definitely do not remember ordering this one, but we're gonna start it. Might not start these guys. Oh, Julia. Just got a fuss. Do we got a fuss? Then the Valkyrie Yellow Aster. This was the one that I just raved about in my cut flower video. It's kind of spidery, but it has a swirl to it. When you see it in the picture, it maybe doesn't look so good, but in real life, it's amazing. What else? And then some of these king size apricots. You always have to have some of these. We also need to bump up a good chunk of this tray, as well as another tray with just a little bit of basil on it. So that's another big job. So whenever I talk about bumping up, people have so many questions like, how do I know when to bump up? And do I have to bump up? And I don't know, things like that. So I'm just gonna bump up these sage plants here, and we'll chat about some of the most common things. So for one, You don't actually have to bump up at all. If you want to, you can just start in the right size containers from the beginning and either just plant one per seed or per cell, one seed per cell, or do 2 seeds per cell and then pick out the weaker one for every cell. It's up to you. I used to do straight into the cell trays, but it really bugged me how much I was wasting for seeds. So that's why I switched to this method. Now you might also wonder like, okay, so why are you doing, you know, the soil blocks? And then clearly you're putting them into plastic trays, and this is just what works for me. I mean, the soil blocks are a little time intensive to make, and this is not my year. So we're going with this. But even though it's plastic, you do reuse these for quite a few years. So at least like it's not a single-use plastic. People are always worried if like when you rip apart the roots, if you're hurting the plant, and like maybe a little, but truly they're fine. They're gonna be fine. When you're bumping up plants, you may also notice that like your plants look kind of sad the first day, but don't worry about that. Like honestly, after a day underneath the grow light, they shall be just fine. If I could offer any sort of like little advice bit, would be that if you're going to do multiple varieties in a tray, make sure they like the same conditions. So for example, I like to put my snapdragons, that's what's on this side of the tray, out early. But if I put it with, say, basil, which I had another half a tray of, that'd be a very bad combination because basil cannot handle any frost or any cold, where snapdragons can handle frost and cold. So I've put them with some sage, which is tough, and it shall be fine. Another question I get all the time is like, how do you know how much of a certain thing to put in or to seed start? Like, how many sage plants do I need? How many snapdragons do I need? Etc., etc. And like, I do have some guidelines in my books. Like if you get cut flowers made simple, or in the flower farming course, like we talk about different guidelines for different situations. But ultimately, it just comes down to planting the thing and figuring out how much you use it. And sometimes it'll vary from year to year. Like there's some plants I barely use or feel like they're going to be on the chopping block for me, and then the next year I try them again, I find I use them a lot more. So like, I know you probably hate when people are like, it depends, but it kind of depends. My goodness, the chickies are really having quite the time in there. Alvin, what do you think you're doing up there? Do you think you're such a big chick now? Well, I run out of tasks that I can do that aren't hard to do with baby like this. So I think I'm going to try to put her down and see if I can finish up. No matter what you do or how you start your seeds, just make sure that you keep track of everything someplace. So I made this garden planner. This one is specifically for flower farmers, and I have another one that I call the Pretty and Practical Garden Planner, and that is just for like everything. But I know like last year I did not keep track of everything, and it was really frustrating. Like I kind of gave up halfway through the season. So I'm trying really hard to keep track of everything. We can do this. I find that all my seed starting efforts seem to have kind of like a 2-week rotation. So you start them, they germinate, and then they need to be bumped up in about 2 weeks. Sometimes it's 3, occasionally it's 4, but it just seems like there's a flow. So every even week, I like to count the weeks before the frost rate. So like week 10, week 8, week 6, week 4. Those are the big planting weeks. And then on the odd weeks, that seems to be where I'm doing all of my bumping up. So I don't know, it's busy, but it has a flow. And I guess after you've done it for a couple of years, you do get used to it. Thank you so much for watching this video and spending this time with me. As always, I'd love to hear your questions if you have any in the comments. I've also put some great resources that I have for you on my blog, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, friends.